MarketPulse, Tuesday, April 7th. The market spent the day riding a geopolitical seesaw. Iran headlines whipped stocks from red to green and back. The S&P barely held positive by the close. Mixed close tonight. The S&P 500 eked out a gain, finishing at 66.29, up 0.25%. The Dow could not hold on, closing at 46,561, down 109 points, or about 0.25%. Apple and Nike were the biggest drags. The Nasdaq Composite finished basically flat at 22,016. Volume was heavy, but this was not a conviction day. This was a waiting.
The Iran deadline arrives tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Markets sold off hard at midday after President Trump escalated his rhetoric, threatening to destroy key Iranian infrastructure. Crude spiked to $116 a barrel on the headline. Then Pakistan proposed a 2-week extension to the deadline, and the afternoon rally kicked in. Stocks climbed off their lows, but the VIX still closed at 25.78, up 3% on the day. The market is hedged. Nobody wants to hold naked risk into tonight.
Sector performance told the story. Energy was the standout, up 0.8% as oil held above 113. Utilities and real estate were the only other green sectors. Classic defensive rotation.
On the downside, technology led losses. Apple dropped 3.5%, and the semiconductor group fell about 1% across the board. Consumer discretionary was weak with Tesla down 3%. A textbook risk-off session underneath a barely green headline number.
The surprise mover tonight. UnitedHealth surged 7.5% after CMS announced a 2.5% increase in Medicare Advantage payments for 2027. Humana jumped 5% and CVS added 4% on the same catalyst. Broadcom rallied 6% on strong chip demand. Chevron climbed 2%, riding the oil surge higher. Disney added 0.5% on an upgraded streaming outlook. On the losing side, Apple dropped 3.5%. The biggest drag on the Dow tonight, no specific catalyst, just broad tech risk off ahead of the Iran deadline. Nike fell 2.5%. Merck dropped 2.5% as healthcare dollars rotated into the managed care names instead. Tesla slid 3% on continued delivery concerns. NVDA, AMD, and Micron each fell about 1%.
Crude oil was the most volatile asset of the day. WTI swung from $111 to $117 a barrel before settling near $113.50. Brent crude closed around 108. The 10-year yield ticked up 3 basis points to 4.36, gold steady at 46.86. Bitcoin pulled back slightly to 68,950, waiting like everything else for tonight's headline. Earnings season starts tomorrow. Delta Airlines and Constellation Brands report Wednesday morning. Delta is the travel demand red. Constellation is the consumer spending red. JP Morgan and Wells Fargo kick off bank earnings Friday alongside the CPI inflation report. The consensus for S&P 500 earnings growth is 13% year-over-year, 6th consecutive quarter of double-digit gains if companies can clear the bar.
3 things to watch overnight. Number 1, the Iran deadline at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. Deal means oil crashes and risk rallies. No deal means crude spikes above 120 and VIX breaks. 30 Pakistan's 2-week extension proposal is the wild card. Number 2, watch crude oil futures overnight. If WTI breaks 117, the market is pricing in military escalation. Number 3, Delta earnings pre-market tomorrow. Air travel demand with jet fuel above $3.50 a gallon tells you everything about the consumer. MarketPulse is for informational and educational purposes only. Nothing in this episode constitutes financial advice or investment recommendations. Always do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. Past performance does not guarantee future results.